Sometimes the heaviest burdens are not the ones we showed to the world. They are the quiet ones we carry deep inside, the ones that no one notices because we have learned to hide them. If you are sitting there right now, listening quietly, know this: you are not weak. You are not broken. You are human. And this story, this conversation is for you. You have lived with pain that was never spoken, feelings that were never shared, tears that were swallowed before anyone could see. You have carried the weight of silence for so long that it has become part of you. And yet, here you are, still breathing, still surviving, still showing up. That in itself is strength, even if it doesn't feel like it. There is a peculiar kind of ache that resides quietly in the heart. It does not announce itself loudly. It does not scream for attention, but it is there in the subtleties, the sighs that escape when no one is looking, the restless nights when your thoughts won't let you sleep, the moments when your chest feels too heavy to breathe. That is the pain of unspoken feelings, the pain of words trapped behind lips that fear judgment, rejection, or simply being dismissed. Perhaps you have learned to tell yourself, "It's nothing," or "I'll manage." Perhaps you have convinced yourself that your emotions are too much for others to bear, and so you swallow them. You fold them neatly into the corners of your heart. You hide them behind a smile, a joke, a routine. And slowly, quietly, you learn to live with them as if they are normal. But my dear, unspoken feelings never truly disappear. They do not vanish just because we refuse to acknowledge them. They linger in the quiet spaces of your mind. They settle like dust in the corners of your soul. They show up in small ways: a sudden flash of sadness that seems to come from nowhere, a wave of anger that surprises even you, a feeling of emptiness that nothing seems to fill. Sometimes they make you feel exhausted for no reason. Sometimes they make your heart ache without any clear cause. This is the nature of unspoken pain. It waits patiently, quietly, until it demands to be felt. Think back to the times you wanted to speak up, but stayed silent. Perhaps you wanted to tell someone that their words hurt you, that their actions left scars you couldn't show. Perhaps you wanted to ask for help, for comfort, for understanding, but you didn't. You told yourself it was easier to be silent than to risk being misunderstood or rejected. And slowly, that silence became familiar. It became a shield, a habit, a way of being. And while it protected you from judgment, it also trapped your feelings inside, where they could fester and grow. I want you to know something very important. Staying silent does not mean you are weak. It does not mean you are broken. You stayed quiet because you cared. You cared about others more than you cared about yourself. You cared about keeping peace. You cared about being strong. But my dear, strength was never meant to mean silence. True strength lies in acknowledging your pain, even when it scares you, even when it feels impossible. True strength lies in allowing yourself to feel, to speak, to be human. Have you ever felt that being the strong one is lonely? Have you noticed how people lean on you, rely on you, expect you to manage, and yet rarely ask how you are doing? You became dependable. You became understanding. You became the person who always handles things. And slowly, those around you stopped noticing your struggles. They assumed that because you never complained, everything was fine. But inside, you were tired. Tired of pretending. Tired of holding everything together. Tired of being brave in silence. And still, you continued, because that is who you are. You are strong, you are kind, you are compassionate. But even strength has limits, and even kind hearts need care. Let me tell you a story. There was once a young woman who carried her grief quietly, believing that no one would understand. Every day she smiled at her friends, helped her family, and kept her life in order. Yet every night, she would sit alone in her room, replaying moments that hurt, conversations that never happened, and words she wished she had spoken. One evening, she finally whispered to herself, "I am tired of hiding." She reached out to a trusted friend and said, "I need to talk." That simple act, that brave acknowledgement of her pain, became the beginning of healing. That is the power of speaking what is unspoken. My dear, your story can begin the same way. You might wonder, what if no one understands? What if I am judged? What if I am told I overreacted? These fears are real, they are valid, but they are not reasons to remain silent forever. The truth is, your feelings are valid simply because they exist. You do not need permission to feel. You do not need validation from anyone else. What you need is courage, the courage to honor yourself, to speak your truth, and to allow someone, anyone, to listen. Consider the small things: a single sentence, a whisper to a trusted friend, a journal entry that holds your emotions. These tiny acts of expression may seem insignificant, but they are not. They are the first steps towards reclaiming your heart, towards healing, towards learning that it is okay to be vulnerable. Because vulnerability is not weakness. Vulnerability is authenticity. Vulnerability is the first bridge that connects your inner world to someone who can truly understand. You see, the world often teaches us that being strong means carrying everything alone, but that is a lie. Being strong does not mean being silent. Being strong does not mean enduring pain without support. Being strong means knowing your limits, honoring your feelings, and seeking help when it is needed. You have survived in silence for so long. You have been brave, patient, and resilient. And now, it is time to allow yourself a moment of grace, a moment to breathe, a moment to release the weight you have carried alone for too long. Do you remember a time when you wished someone had noticed your pain? Maybe it was a friend, a sibling, a parent, a partner. Maybe you looked for signs of care that never came, and in those moments, you learned to turn inward, to rely solely on yourself. But my dear, there are people who will notice, there are people who will listen, and there are moments when speaking your heart will be met with understanding, compassion, and love. You may have to search for them, but they exist, and finding them can transform everything. Pain, when left unspoken, has a way of teaching us lessons. It teaches us empathy for others who suffer. It teaches us resilience even when it feels unfair. It teaches us the depth of our own hearts. And while it can feel unbearable, it also carries wisdom. Wisdom that whispers, "You survived. You are here. You are still capable of love, kindness, and connection." Remember, my dear, the heart that has known pain also knows how to heal. The heart that has been silent also knows how to speak. There will be times when speaking your truth feels impossible, times when your voice trembles, when your emotions are too heavy, when you fear judgment. In those moments, take a deep breath. Remind yourself that your feelings are real. Remind yourself that your pain deserves acknowledgement. Remind yourself that it is okay to cry, to pause, to stumble. Healing is not a straight path. It is messy, unpredictable, and sometimes slow. But every step, every word spoken, every tear released is a victory. Let us pause for a moment and imagine a safe space where you can express yourself freely, a friend who listens without interruption, a family member who embraces without judgment, a quiet corner where you can write, speak, or reflect. Imagine yourself sharing your pain, your fears, your unspoken feelings. Feel the weight lift just a little. Feel the relief that comes from not holding everything inside anymore. That feeling, my dear, is the first taste of liberation, the first step towards healing. And now, let us speak of hope. Hope is not the absence of pain. Hope is the presence of possibility. Hope is the whisper that says, even though I have suffered, I can still find peace. Even though I have been silent, I can still be heard. Even though I have been alone, I can still connect. Hold on to that hope, nurture it, speak to it daily. Let it remind you that your voice matters, your feelings matter, and your story matters. You may have spent years hiding your pain, but it is never too late to start sharing it. Begin with small steps, a journal entry, a short conversation, a heartfelt letter, a simple acknowledgement of your emotions. Each act is a thread that weaves a bridge from your inner world to the world outside. And over time, that bridge will grow stronger, wider, and more supportive. You will find people who understand, who care, who validate your experience, and you will realize that silence was only temporary, not permanent. My dear, your unspoken feelings are not a weakness. They are evidence of your depth, your capacity to feel, and your humanity. They are a reminder that you have been strong, not by denying your pain, but by surviving it. And now, it is time to let your feelings breathe. Let them flow. Let them find a voice. You deserve to be heard. You deserve to be